In this section, I'm gonna introduce you into the so-called data analyze function in Excel. Well, what we can see here is that we already have a database prepared, and this database is quite big. We have a lot of columns with different data types. As you can see here, we have an ID column with date. We also have here the year, we have the country, the city as well, but also besides the categorical data, we have numerical data such as the revenue, the costs. And now it is interesting to extract information out of our data. Well, what we can do, of course, is to create a pivot table. So we could go to Insert and then click on Pivot Table to create a multi-dimensional analysis. And then we can figure out on our own what's behind the data. So, of course, we could analyze here the numerical data with our categorical data as well. So we could maybe see the average of our revenue, and this also here on the level of our cities or countries. But we could also work here with the so-called data analyze function. Well, where do we find this data analyze function? As always, we can just use the search function in Excel by clicking here on search, or also use the shortcut Alt and Q. And by clicking Alt and Q, we can just type in here analyze data. And on the right side, we have here a new field. And in this field, we can use the recommended analysis from Microsoft. Of course, you can position this as well here in the middle or also on the left side, but I want to have it here on the right side, which is also the standard of it. And this works like that we have here a lot of suggestions because Excel automatically analyzes here the data and is aware of which data types are there. So let's say that revenue and costs are, of course, numerical data. We could also have a look here at the specific values, what you can see here. And also clear is that the city and the country are here categorical data. And as a result, Microsoft or Excel suggests us how we can analyze the data. So here, for instance, we can discover the insights with the pivot table. So by clicking on Insert Pivot Table, we can just generate here a new pivot table without clicking on Insert and creating the pivot table on our own, where we have to always select the initial data area or the data set. And we do not have to do it and directly generate here a new analysis, and already with the dimensions, as you can see, so the business unit in the columns, and in the rows, year, city, and the values is the sum of costs. And this is quite helpful because we don't have to spend a lot of effort in it and directly generate here interesting information. What you can also see here is that we also get recommended a lot of charts, like here the costs, or also the revenue on country level, or the revenue costs by a date in this chart. And you can also click here on show more. So we have 14 more charts recommended, like this one as well, or here the revenue decreases over year. And we can also click here on insert chart to generate it here as a new chart, as you can see here. And of course I can also press here the Alt tab, and then I can move it here along the cells and can position it here like there, for instance. And nevertheless, I can always change the chart. I could also say like, okay, I want to change here the color of the bars, not in gray. I want to see it in orange or in blue. So you have a lot of options here. Then this chart maybe is also interesting because here we have like a correlation chart, revenue and costs. We see here this is highly correlated, and this is also quite interesting, so that here in this function a lot of things are analyzed. So also like the correlation coefficient by analyzing the revenue and the costs. And here automatically is seen that the correlation coefficient by Pearson is quite high, maybe even higher than 80 or 90%. And as a result, also the correlation chart with a scatter plot shows that there is a high correlation between both columns. And there are other charts as well, like here the costs, or also here this is also interesting, analyzing the customers. By analyzing the customers, we can see that there are a lot of, and here it's also interesting to see maybe which customer has noticeably higher revenue than others, and this is here this customer C65. So as you can see, this function is quite helpful, and we always generate here a new tab like suggestion 1, suggestion 2, and so on. So I can really suggest you to implement this function in your data sets to just get quick insights into your data, and it's quite helpful. Yeah, and what is also very interesting to see is the suggested questions. So you could also click on here, percentage of total cost for each product. And then you can see here the suggested answer directly here with a pivot chart. But you could also create it on your own. You could also give in here percentage, but of a different column, not for the cost, maybe for the revenue, you can say. So of total, and then you can type in revenue, and then you can say also the level, like for each city, for instance. And yeah, by searching for this, then you can create also a new pivot chart. But you can also have a look at the suggested questions like this, which is the country for customer C107. So these are only suggestions, but you see how it works, and then you can create the analysis how you want it.